good to have you back here at Christ Table as we are continuing on in our Game On study series. If you'd like to know more about Christ Table, you can visit the URL that's right up there at www.christtable.today. My name's Kevin. I have the privilege of leading Christ Table as lead clergy. We're a group of people who are dedicated to those who are disconnected, disillusioned, discouraged, or done with the church, with organized religion, with Christianity, with Christians. Most of us who are a part of Christ Table have similar trauma and similar questions, similar frustrations, and we work together to try to find ways to navigate faith and spiritual journey wherever you're headed, wherever you end up. We don't try to determine where that is or suggest a path. We're just simply here along the journey for you as a resource for as long as you need us. If you'd like more information about this series, this study in particular, the URL that is right there in front, right there in front of me, that's the place to go there. go.christtable.today/game on. There you're going to find information that you can download for free to help you along this journey. You don't have to put in any information, not even an email address, to get the study assistance for this study. You can get printed copies of that study along with the resource box that has a lot of other stuff in it. There's information on there if you'd like to take advantage of that, but most of the resources that are there are absolutely free because we feel like that is important for us to offer resources for free. Because I know that a lot of folks don't trust religious organizations or even organizations that are trying to help folks who suffer with religious trauma. And so we're here to help you. If you'd like to help us, obviously, www.christtable.today, or you can get that information or get the resource box there at go.christtable.today/game on. So today we are in Habbakuk chapter 2, verse 3, as we are continuing on through our study on the game of chess and how we might learn some things from the game of chess and how it might inform our spiritual journey. We've been talking this week about the fourth piece in the game of chess, the bishop here. The lighting, it's kind of blowing that out. But the bishop, the clergy member, or actually there are two bishops, as we kind of talked yesterday in the game of chess. And that is what we're talking about this week. In particular, though, as we talk about the bishop, we've been talking a little bit about the uniqueness of the bishop and how it helps us oftentimes understand how we navigate the world as well, because each and every one of these chess pieces, the bishop included, navigates the world differently. All the people around you navigate the world differently, and sometimes the things that help one person navigate their spiritual journey are not the things that help you navigate your spiritual journey. Just like in the game of chess, some pieces are in a straight line, some pieces are backward or to the side, some pieces, like the bishop, are on a diagonal, or maybe it's more like the knight where it's a crooked path. But whatever your path is like, not everybody is going to be able to see the things that you see on your path and isn't going to be able to take the same path that you take. You have to find your own way. In particular, what I want to talk about, though, today are closed ways or closed paths. As we think about closed ways or closed paths, in the game of chess, there is this point where there are closed positions for the bishop. Closed positions for the bishop are oftentimes those positions that have been taken over and are blocking the path of the bishop. Now, the primary or most prevalent game piece in the game of chess are these game pieces in the game of chess, the pawn. And as you can see right over here in that graphic next to me, the pawns are blocking the pathway of the bishop, which is always on diagonal. And so those pawns have been strategically placed in place. One of them, the other one, is just accidentally in place because it's the opposite team's piece, or the same team's piece right there. But those pawns are in the way, and oftentimes pawns are used strategically in order to prevent the bishop from having its normal diagonal movement. These are called closed positions because what they do is they end up blocking the bishop's diagonal pathways, which make the bishop almost completely and utterly useless despite the potential power. Now, I want you to think about that for just a moment. Have you ever encountered a situation in life? Have you ever encountered a pawn or a person that has been intentionally or seemingly intentionally placed in order to block your progress? I think that many of us can think about times, maybe it was in school, in education, in the workforce, maybe even in family situations where people intentionally place themselves or place others in our way in order to essentially create closed positions for us, closed avenues, closed paths for us. And that can be extremely detrimental to our journey. It can be extremely detrimental to your gameplay, the bishop's journey in the game of chess, but also can be extremely detrimental, destructive, disastrous to your journey as well in life. And so, what do you do when those moments happen, when those things occur? In the game of chess, you wait. You got to wait for the right moment. You got to wait for some other piece to take out the pawn. You got to wait for the pawn to have to move. And sometimes in the game of chess, that means that some of your most critical moves or some of your most important pieces or most strategic pieces have to just simply sit and wait until the timing is right, until the opening is there. I'm guessing you can already see where I'm going with this. There are moments in life, here we are, right? There are moments in life where sometimes you are going to have to wait for the right moment. There are moments in life where you can see the right path, where you can see the direction that you need to go, whether it's God who you believe is calling you in that direction, or that is the direction that makes most sense to you or is the right path for you. That may be a direction that you just simply want to go in. Maybe there's no other reason other than that. Maybe it's strategic. Maybe it's important. Maybe it sets you up for something down the road. But sometimes there are pawns and things in the way that are going to make you have to wait for the right moment before you can take advantage of opportunity. So in the book of Habbakuk, we hear this said, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." So when it says revelation there in that first few words of that verse, it's not speaking of the book of Revelation. It's a small r there. But it is speaking along the same lines of things that are revealed. Who reveals things? Well, in the Bible, God reveals things. And so this word or this information or this path or this revelation from God awaits an appointed time, not unlike a bishop that awaits an appointed time for it to be able to accomplish strategically what it is intended or needful of accomplishing. In that appointed time that's being spoken about here in Habbakuk, it speaks of the end. It will not prove false. And though that time may linger for a long time before the appointed time arrives, wait for it. It will come and will not delay. Just like sometimes in the game of chess, whenever you're being patient, whenever you're waiting for that right move or that right opening at the right time, though it linger, you might have to wait for it. And at some point or other, the board will be clear enough where you will not have to delay that move anymore. I think that there is something to be said for that, not just in the game of chess, but also I think that there is something to be said for closed positions in the game of life as well. Sometimes whenever there is a closed position, a closed path in front of you, you simply have to wait. Sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes you simply have to wait for the right timing or for the right circumstances rather than forcing yourself into unreceptive circumstances, into unreceptive situations, forcing yourself in front of unreceptive people. So many amazing dreams and journeys have been ended because the timing wasn't right. Maybe it was the right person. Maybe it was the right path. Maybe it was the right problem to solve. Maybe everything about this thing was right, except the timing. Waiting for the right time is sacred, is holy work, Holy. What is it that you may be needful of waiting for the right time on? Maybe you're just itching to get started, or maybe you're looking for something. And whenever you find it, you're going to realize that maybe, even though you found it, it isn't just quite the right time yet. Well, in the study guide, there's some questions. That's why we always give you the study guide information, the link to it, to be able to download those questions. It's back there at the beginning if you need it of today's broadcast. go.christable.today/gameon. But here's one of the questions from that study guide. How can you prepare yourself during closed seasons when your gifts aren't immediately needed? Maybe you're not ready. Maybe your gifts aren't necessary in the moment. Maybe you need a skill to acquire. Maybe you need to pick one up from somewhere else. Maybe you're waiting on the right person to come along who's going to help make your journey down that path successful. So during those moments where everything around you seems to be a stalemate, a closed season, how can you prepare yourself? What are the things that you can be doing when your gifts aren't immediately needed? I think this is a great question. I'd love for you to answer it in your curriculum, but I'd also love for you to also let us know. Let me know in the comments in the chat, wherever you're watching. I'd love to see what your answers to that question is and what your feedback is on today's study. It's been good to be with you today. Looking forward to being back with you tomorrow. Until that time,